that's why I came out. I was like, I'm not gonna be afraid because I feel like may chance. Kung chance lang ang meron ako, pero kung para sa ikababago ng Pilipinas, kukunin ko na yun.
Right.
And wala pang dumadating so far until Leni came around.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Soul Podcast. Today we are joined by a celebrity content creator who is also a dedicated mother and wife. We're gonna talk about how she uses her platform to speak about matters that mean the most to her and how she deals with the pressures of being a public figure. If you guys enjoy our content, please consider liking and subscribing. That would really help a lot. Hey Carla, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you also for inviting me.
So how are you?
I'm good. I'm very still very busy as a mom, but also at the same time I'm at that like season. I'm in that season of my life na after 10 years of being a mom, I'm finally rediscovering myself.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if that that's something that you could connect with kasi boy ka. But you kind of like lose yourself in motherhood.
Okay.
And after 10 years, parang nafe-feel ko na, I'm slowly getting back to like the groove of things.
Interesting. Is your running part of that journey? Because I noticed you've been running a lot.
Yes. I didn't really, it wasn't intentional. It was just like a series of things. I got invited to this event and then puro runners. I'm like, okay, ba't ako nandito? Ganon. And then as any runner would say, it's kind of like meditative that way. Na parang, di ba, counterintuitive if you like look at it. High impact and all.
Yeah.
But I don't know, when you run, it's like when you get to be with yourself the most. I guess you have to pay attention because to your body, your breathing and all of that. And all the thoughts that, that come to you or you get to think about. It's very, parang refreshing. It's very restorative. Ganon.
Do you have any favorite routes that you run? Or
The routes that are like my most favorite are those that can make me run back home anytime I want to or need to.
So
because you're
close
still a
to the
mom.
house.
At the end of the day, I still have to be very near the house.
That is so interesting. You know, I saw this video recently on Instagram. The guy asked, it actually reminded me of you because of the stuff that you posted. But the guy asked ChatGPT to write a motivational like talk so that he would be motivated to run.
Huh?
Yeah, and then ChatGPT starts like letting him imagine, like, hey, imagine a future where you can't run anymore, your knees are weak, and all of these things, and then at that time you'll be looking back at all the times you decided to run and how the ground felt on your feet and stuff like that.
Oh
And I
my
was like, that sounds like you.
It is. And that's one thing that I've been like learning recently. Because I got, anybody knows also na any runner would also agree that when you get into a high impact sport, kasama na dyan yung mga injury.
Right.
So I've been injured a couple of times.
Okay.
And every time I would go to like a rehab doctor, I would be lined up together with like people who haven't been moving all their lives.
Oh no.
And
Okay.
at some point, it kind of like just affects them in a way that they can't walk, so parang naisip ko na better na lang that I'm here for overuse than underuse. Because theirs is like a lack of movement that got them there. And mine is like over movement naman. But mine's like easier to address because you can just cut back and then, do a more moderate kind of movement than starting from nothing, diba?
Yeah.
And also maybe sometimes it's too late because your like bones are so weak, your muscles are not there.
Yeah. You are a very strong advocate about moving. Like you talk a
Yes.
lot about how you like to walk, right? And you go by many titles, right? You're a celebrity, you're an actress, you are currently an influencer, content creator. People would say you're an advocate. You are a mom, you are a wife. Can you share with us how all of these titles parang helped you evolve and grow into the person you are today?
Ooh, okay. I wasn't really fixated on the titles. The titles just came after me doing things in my life. I just simply followed the path that I was on. I wanted to do this. I tried doing that. It got me here. I got married. Of course, you need to learn how to be a married woman, to be a wife. when you become a mom. So, these titles are just coming in with like, it's not as if like I desired them,
Mm-mm.
but it's really just, life happening to me. And eventually, I put labels. Well,
Mm-mm.
not me, but like generally, my labels yung mga ginagawa
Mm-mm.
ko. But yeah, I mean, like the evolution is something that I think it's for everyone. It's not really just for
Yeah.
me. Everybody evolves. I just feel like some people refuse to.
Whoa. Among those roles that just came into your life, right? Which one would you say is the most fulfilling one as of the moment?
Being a family woman, I guess.
Mm-mm.
Nothing beats like caring for the people God has really put into your life
Right.
and having you as like a no replacement kind of person in their lives. Because everybody can be, so like let's say I'm a content creator, influencer,
Mm-mm.
celebrity, di ba, what have you,
Mm-mm.
advocate, runner. All of those things can be replaced by somebody else, but I
Okay.
cannot be replaced as the mom of my children and as the wife of my husband,
Right.
the daughter of my mom.
Mm-mm.
I'm just simply that person in their
Uh-uh.
lives. So I guess that's also why it's most fulfilling and also the scariest. Kasi
Right.
wala akong sub.
Uh,
Wala namang iba.
all the, I guess, the responsibility
Yeah, I mean, like
falls
there's a
on.
lot of joys, a lot of
Yeah.
pains. You will do a lot of rights and a lot of
Mm-mm.
wrongs, and there's nobody else doing the wrong
Yeah.
stuff but you.
Right. That makes sense. From being in the public eye
Mm.
for a big chunk of your life, how has that transition been like in shaping how you prioritize things in your life when it comes to using your platform for your advocacies, for your faith, for the things you want to
Oh,
talk about?
wow. That's a really good question because I think that if I hadn't gone through that part of my life, because I started with traditional media, so parang wala pa lahat to. No internet, no podcasts, no vlogs, right?
Mm-mm.
It would be just me working for a network. That's
Right.
all. I
Yeah.
mean, like you go on TV, you go on films, and basically my life back then, or our lives as celebrities and traditional media artists, were much more like we're employees than we are creators ourselves,
Okay.
content creators,
Mm-mm.
because we were just told what to do, when to come in, what to bring,
Yeah.
what lines to speak,
Yeah.
diba? You don't get to even if you think of something, you don't really get to employ it at work because
Mm-mm.
you're really more like you're a talent. You're more
Mm-mm.
a talent than you are like a content creator.
Yeah.
And that had a lot of like hold on my life. Parang we compared ourselves to like doctors on call. Anytime they needed you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you come because your
You have to
face
be
has no,
there.
yeah, I mean,
Mm-mm.
again, your face has no replacement. When they say I
Mm-mm.
need this character on the set, and if you
Mm-mm.
play that character,
Yeah.
I can't really call in another person,
Right.
diba? Parang it's just me. So for a big chunk of my life, it was like I had no choice.
Mm-mm.
It was like, sige, kung kailangan magtrabaho ngayon at kailangan ako ng network ko ngayon, I really would show up.
Mm-mm.
Even if I feel tired,
Yeah.
or I actually wanted to be there for my siblings,
Mm-mm.
and there are many, like I have a lot of memories where my family would go out of town. They would enjoy the trip, and I would just be back in the hotel because, either I'm just too popular at the time. Iba
Mm-mm.
na yung time ngayon eh. But at that time, the whole nation just had TV.
Mm-mm.
So everybody knew you basically
Mm-mm.
because if you appeared on TV ganon kabilis, di ba? So I really couldn't go out that much. I couldn't enjoy because I had to preserve myself for my
Right.
work and stuff.
Uh-uh.
So that kind of like shaped me to be the person that I am today as a content creator. That's one. And also as a family woman. Na
Right.
parang I can't I can't be like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced that kind of life, and I know that no matter how hard you work, nothing is more fulfilling than raising a family of your own and really just enjoying the time that you have with the people that you really really love.
Right. So it's very interesting that you said like you guys were like doctors on call because that's such a true reality even today.
Yeah,
Na, 'di ba? Parang
true.
the teleseries they get filmed sometimes they're gonna be aired in the same evening. And so you need to be there
Yes.
agad. And
Yes.
I don't want to age drop you or anything, but it's
It's all right. I'm 43.
but like it's been many years since your experience being in traditional
Oh,
media, and
that's
it's
like
still the same until
1990s.
today.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of difference. I'm glad that it's this is already a far cry from what we would do before. Kasi
Mhm.
ngayon at least they can determine numbers of hours
Right,
more
that's true.
than
Uh-huh.
like how it was before. As in
Yeah.
like before you would be called to the set like 6 in the morning. Nobody knows when you're going home.
Oh wow.
So, pwedeng 6 a.m. of the next day yon, pwedeng 12 noon of the next day.
Wow.
So,
And it's a lot of waiting. It's a
and
lot
you
of
just
waiting.
have
Yeah.
to, you're just, okay, just accept
Yes.
that this
Yeah.
is your reality.
Oh. You are now like mainly job wise a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then you work as your own director, you work as your own
Yes,
stylist, diba? All
yes,
of that.
yes.
And you have a significant platform.
Mm-hmm.
I think over 1 million on Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, and close to 700, oh, almost 700, ay, more than 700,000 on TikTok.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
did
yeah.
not check.
Oh, that's nice. But I checked. And you've been very open about using your platform to raise awareness for social issues.
Yes.
You've been that person for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you personally navigate the responsibility of being a voice for social
Mm-hmm.
issues and ensuring that your message resonates with your personal values?
Oh, that's not very hard for me
Mm.
because if anything, what's hard for me is to withhold the truth that is within me. And I think I
Okay.
got it from my mom.
Okay.
Na my mom kasi lives with integrity. What she says, she does. And I did, of course, when you're young, you don't realize that that's what your mom's doing. So parang I just lived as a kid seeing her be that way. Like she was such a fighter for truth. Like nag-EDSA yan, nakarga niya ako. Yung gano'n.
Wow.
Ganon. So parang I get it from somewhere.
Nice.
So I think it's mainly that I don't have a problem with integrity. I actually don't have any problem at all. But of course, whenever you get into like things like justice,
Mhm.
truth, there will be the bad side's going to be offended,
Mhm.
and you're gonna get attacked
Okay.
if that happens. I think
Mhm.
that's mainly parang not kasi it's not a problem. I think if anything, tanggap ko siya.
Uh-huh.
Na it comes with the territory. If you're somebody who likes to speak the truth,
Yeah.
you're really gonna get it from the other side.
Right.
And so there's no problem for me being one and the same off screen with my life. Although it doesn't mean that I divulge everything about my
Mm-mm.
life. I
Yes.
don't like to.
Mm-mm.
I never want to be that kind of person. I
Mm-mm.
share a lot, but there's also a lot I don't
Yes.
share. So but it doesn't mean that I'm hiding. I just want to keep some things private for myself,
Mm-mm.
right?
Yeah.
Di naman kailangan ng publiko yung ibang bagay. So,
Right.
yeah, but yeah, I don't have a problem being one and the same off screen and on
Okay.
screen.
So it's always been parang you don't raise awareness for things that you
Yeah.
diba,
That I
parang that
don't
don't align with your values.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't comment as much as possible also to like people who say stuff that I don't really understand or know about.
Mhm.
This is what I always say. RRL. Naalala niyo pa ba to sa school?
Review for
of
related literature.
If I have not done my RRL,
Uh-uh.
I will not comment.
Okay.
And I will not say stuff. I
Yeah.
will only say stuff about things that I really know about, I've researched about, and I think that's also one thing that keeps me very confident na
Mm.
I don't naman have to say I know everything.
Yeah.
I just say I
Uh-uh.
don't know.
Yeah.
When I'm asked about something and I don't know the
Uh-uh.
answer, I'm like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for
Right.
you.
That's so refreshing kasi maraming memes sa
Oh,
social media.
naman. My
Na parang
gosh.
just because it's being talked about, you have to say something. When you're right, it's wise not to or to hold back if you don't know the full
Right.
information.
Yes.
You mentioned something about negative feedback.
Mhm.
And in today's climate, right, where social media really just amplifies everything, how do you usually deal with negative feedback or pushback when it comes to discussing sensitive topics?
Okay. I think my baptism of fire came, ano ba? I don't know how many years ago that was. It was on Twitter. And then I complained that somebody took a picture with me, even if I was like really, really sick in the hospital. And then nagka-backlash talaga yun. I think yun yung mga first few times na nakaka-discover tayo na meron such a thing as something went viral. Hindi pa uso yun. And I was very shocked at like the reaction. I was like, bakit kayo ganito? Sinabi ko lang na may sakit ako.
Yeah.
And it was really rude for you to keep asking for my photo.
Right.
Even if I said na, basta ganon. Anyway, that was my first experience of that. And in the beginning, I was like, but I'm right. I don't need to explain. I don't need to say I'm sorry. But it wouldn't stop. Like people around me also were like hounding me. Now, why did you say that?
Yeah,
Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? So I started analyzing. May ginawa ba talaga akong mali? And I got something wrong by saying that the nurses did that. When in fact, it wasn't the nurses. Meron palang mga, I forget, I think secretaries because
Okay.
I was in that building. Anyway, I got an information wrong. And I just simply said, sorry for that. That I got that information wrong. And maybe I offended the nurses unnecessarily. And then that's it. I wasn't bothered, honestly, by the people who were like hating on me. It was like this group of people who were close to me who actually didn't do well in supporting me.
Oh, okay.
They were parang mas galit pa sila sa akin for doing that.
Okay.
And I guess kasi everyone was just also at a loss na,
Yeah.
what do you do when something like this happens? But I do remember one of them saying na, you know that this can affect your family, right? And so I kept crying. And then somebody also said na, you might have misrepresented God by what you did. So
Really?
went as far as that.
Wow.
And of course, back then, being so confused and all, I kept crying. I was like, God, I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't mean. I mean, like, I just said, I wish they did otherwise,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I felt sick and stuff. Sabi ko, how am I gonna solve this? I kept crying to God na parang, I'm sorry, I didn't want to ruin your name. And it feels like, of course, I don't know how people are gonna take it, but God answered me na, you ruined my name? I was like, ay, di ba? And then parang, God is just making me realize na, it's been thousands of years that people are trying to drag my name down and it hasn't happened.
Right.
It's not gonna take someone like you to do that.
Yeah.
And that really calmed me down. Na parang, okay, if this is my biggest responsibility, at least in that season of my life, not in my heart, na I just don't want to misrepresent God. Na this is not enough for me to bring God down. I'm not enough. I can't think of myself as that big of a person also, no? Na parang sino ka ba to bring somebody as big as God down? That really comforted me and it calmed me down. And from that point on, that was my attitude na parang, I'm not gonna get everything right. I'm not naman din kasi stupid to like think na I'm gonna get everything right. There will be wrongs, especially with the amount of like stuff that I put out there. I might get 1, 2, 3 things out there that's wrong. And I cannot be bogged down by the amount of mistakes that I will make, diba?
Yeah.
I just have to know how to retract. That's one thing. Like, how do you... I think that's how internet moves nowadays also, na parang I need to know how to... If I do something wrong, how do I actually take that back or clear that up? That's one thing. And another thing is that if you're not wrong and if they're still mad, ganun lang talaga. You
Right.
can't please everybody.
Right.
And like what I always say, it takes only a new person, another person with another issue before they forget you.
That's so true.
Which is like what? And that's my experience.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been viral a couple of times na people hate on me today because of what I say. But in like 2 days, somebody says a new thing, another thing, and they forget about you. That's not a reason for me to stop speaking my truth.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to get from point A to point B? Like from having these doubts of like, oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? To like, teka lang, hindi naman mali yung ginagawa ko eh. And I should be okay with that.
Not very long also
Okay.
because alam mo yung book na Courage to be Disliked.
Okay.
Eh,
I've heard of it, but
and
I
then
haven't read
there's
it.
also another book where it's my French, my bad language na
Subtle
parang
art of that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
People always say that this is you. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Because I think that's what makes it easy for me. I don't really have to be liked.
Okay.
That's parang for me, I don't know, maybe I'm just a really highly responsible person that I feel like I'm answerable to God for stuff and to my children, my family and all. Na if I don't speak my truth, that's a harder thing to accept than me being disliked by so many people just because I needed to sell out.
Right. Because I could imagine like a younger you being in the spotlight, caring so much about what the public might say.
Oh yeah.
When did you have the transition to be like not really giving
Oh my
a care?
gosh. Kaya nga ganda nung first question mo na how did that shape me, Kasi also at the time, you're not allowed to speak your truth.
Ah.
Not naman not allowed, but there's no platform for it.
And it's
Parang,
limited.
yeah, and also you're kind of like scared to do that because you might lose you might lose jobs.
Right.
Still very similar to what we have today, but I guess the society these days is like more accepting. Mas ganun na yung culture natin ngayon na kaya na natin yung mga matatapang na celebrities. Dati kasi parang kailangan cutesy,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
cutesy, very demure. Ngayon kasi parang kahit matapang ka, in fact, it might work pa to your advantage kasi you're being authentic. People can see that, you're not trying to hold anything back. But yeah, I mean I guess that's a very big part to of like turning me into a very fearless. I don't know what to call
Bold.
myself, bold, whatever. But I'm just really not fearful of like being disliked, and I think the turn really was made evident when new media came in.
Okay.
Kasi na yun yun yung I can speak my truth
Right.
na. I think I was fresh off of college and I was a lit major and when you take up kasi literature, as in the bulk of what you're doing is you're being a critic.
Yeah.
You're being critical of a lot of things, not for not for bad reasons, but it's more of like you're just finding things to talk about in a certain piece. And so I guess my framework was very much like that na it started with blogs. As far back as mga WordPress,
Oh, wow,
ganyan.
okay.
May mga ganyan ako.
Yeah.
Na yung sarili mong blog site, yung ikaw yung gumagawa.
Yeah.
So I would write my thoughts on that. And I would gain readership from like writing my thoughts. And that's, I think, the beginning of like me realizing, hey, I can do this na pala. I can
Yeah.
be myself. If anything, I haven't changed. It's just that the real me is now emerging.
Right. You talk about, again, using your platform, speaking your truth.
Yes.
And during the 2022 elections, you spoke your truth.
Oh, yeah.
You were very vocal about your support for Leni, diba?
Yes.
Can you share with us what motivated you to take such a public stance about your political beliefs? Especially given, I guess, your role as a pastor's wife.
Yeah.
And an influencer, right?
Honestly, I didn't think that being a pastor's wife was going to be an issue because wala namang rule na ganun eh.
Right.
At least from where we were back then, like our church back then. They didn't naman say that the pastor's wife can't speak. Only the pastors cannot.
Okay.
For certain reasons. I also do not agree with that. But, I mean, as any organization would have it, they have rules.
Yes.
And of course, we would respect that. But they had no rules naman for me or like the pastor's wife. So we could talk about that. But I guess it just became very, very heated also because, I don't know, Christians can be like that.
That's true.
It's not
Yeah.
just where we came from, but it's like on the whole, evangelical Christians can be so involved in things like this and can spiritualize even, things as such as, this is the person that I would want to vouch for. Um, I think I really came out back then because I felt na I could do something.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, it felt like somebody like me couldn't.
Yeah.
I think even if you had a voice as a celebrity, I guess one thing that you would have to think about is who are you going to use that voice for?
Mm-mm.
And wala pang dumadating so
Yeah.
far until Leni came around. And I think it was me watching documentary ba yun or something. Basta I was watching something.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her sleeping with the laylayans.
Mm.
Like sleeping in the most remote areas in the Philippines
Mm-mm.
with the mga bankero and educating them about their rights. And she's
Yeah.
been doing this way before she had
Yeah.
decided to run
To run, yeah.
for anything. It was always the husband.
Yeah.
So, nung nakita ko yun, na-convince ako, sabi ko, grabe, she knows it. She
Mm-mm.
knows what the Philippines is like because I feel like yun yung pinaka-concern ko na even somebody like me, I don't get the laylayan.
Mm.
I mean, I'm pretty much honest na privileged ako. Lumaki ako kumakain ng 3 beses sa isang araw.
Mm-mm.
Nakakotse ako, hatid sundo.
Mm-mm.
So, definitely hindi ko kaya yung mindset ng laylayan. I have a heart for them, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But this person has gone through a lot of things
Yeah.
to know what it is and she served them.
Yeah.
So, yun yung nakapag-convince sa akin.
Mhm.
And the fact na ang ganda ng track record nila ng mag-asawa, mga ginawa nila, naniwala ako. And I could hear also so many other voices around me na, yes, we wanna fight for this chance.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I came out. I was like,
Mm-mm.
I'm not gonna be afraid because I feel like my chance.
Mm-hmm.
Kung chance lang ang meron ako, pero kung para sa ikababago ng Pilipinas to, kukunin ko na yun.
Right.
Yun, that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
I wasn't coming from like wanting somebody else to lose or at fighting, what have you. No, I didn't even know that it was gonna be like that.
Yeah.
It only started with, I really believe in this person. And I believe in the chance for us to change our nation
Right.
because I wanted to change.
Yeah, which is the right mindset naman rin talaga. It's not about, okay, I'm voting for this person so this other person will lose. It's really just, okay.
Yes.
Diba? Parang we want what's best for the country. Eh.
Yes.
It's very interesting you say that because I remember having this experience. I was an intern for a company. And then it was during another major election. And I think I was 18, 19. Ano ba? Very idealistic college student.
Okay.
And I was just like asking all my seniors, and I'm like, hey guys, are you voting? Kasi ako, I registered and all of that. And they're like, no. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Then all the people there who were working there for many years now, they were like, my vote doesn't matter anyway.
That's what they said.
Yeah. That's what they said. And it was a very different shift from then to the last presidential
Yeah.
elections because for some reason a lot more people felt like, okay,
Yes.
there is a chance. And it's because I'm friends pa with them on Facebook, and some of them, they said their pieces. It could be different candidates, but at the very least, I was
They were
happy
involved.
that they were involved. That they were like, okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna register, I'm gonna, vote kasi my vote matters, which is a really good shift.
That's why I think it was a win pa rin. Na a lot of people woke up and a lot of people exercised their power. Because for the longest time, our apathy has made the powerful even more powerful. Diba? So by standing up for like what we think is right and what we want for our nation to look like,
Yeah.
is already a huge win. Hindi ko naman iniisip din kasi na yung win ko lang ay yung manalo yung kandidato ko eh.
Right.
Gusto ko lang talagang magising yung mga Pilipino, tsaka mabuhay yung sense of like, let's make this nation better.
What reactions did you receive from your followers regarding your support for the candidate? And how did those reactions affect your perspective on being an advocate for politics and all of these things?
Different reactions. Of course, maraming kapwa, kakamping. So they're like
Yeah.
super supportive,
Mm-mm.
love you and all that. But I don't want to live in a bubble. So I also read stuff that express hate for me.
Mhm.
And a lot of them would say na like really bad things na ganyan ka lang kasi hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga ginagawa nila. So
Mm-mm.
apparently, victims of like fake news and stuff.
Mhm.
So I would receive a lot of hate. And the other thing then kasi is that it digresses. It doesn't. They don't just hate you because they don't like your candidate.
Yeah.
They will nitpick everything about what you say, your life, na they don't approve of, and then
Mm-mm.
they try to pin you down. Plus
Mhm.
the fact that there are paid trolls to do that. So so it's like double, double, double. I
Mm-mm.
got all of that. And a lot of them also like years after. I mean, like,
Mm-mm.
kailan lang ba yun? 2022, no?
Mm-mm.
So, even until now, I would get messages of like, I followed you again. I unfollowed you during the campaign. And they weren't really exactly unfollowing me because they hated my candidate, but it was because you spoke too much. You
Okay.
were getting toxic.
Okay.
And honestly, I feel like I was getting toxic.
Okay.
Hindi ko naman yun dinideny.
Okay.
Na parang, when you talk too much, you can be, even if you're talking about the right thing, anyone who talks too much can be toxic.
Okay.
So I really felt like magiging toxic talaga ako sa ibang tao. But then, my mindset is always, then leave if you can't handle me.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, I think I'm that kind of person. I'm an
Mhm.
all or nothing person. And
Okay.
I also believe that when you know who you are,
Mhm.
both the good and the bad, the best of you and the worst of you, you're kind of like pretty
Right.
much aware of.
Uh-uh.
Hindi ka na magugulat when people get offended at you or like or if they like
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's like you kind of like expect it na okay, some people are gonna hate what I'll do.
Mm-mm.
Some people are going to rejoice in what I'm doing. So I don't get surprised and I don't get sad or bothered by
Mm-mm.
them because I am very much aware of myself
Right.
also. I think self-awareness is such a gift
Yeah.
because you're not taken aback by the things that kind of like happen around you because of who you are.
Yeah.
Kasi parang, okay, expect ko naman na
Yeah.
not everyone's gonna get me. Ganon.
Mm-mm. And I guess when people reflect back to you who you are, you're like, alam ko na yan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oo.
I wanted to ask you about, I think you touched on it a little bit, but within those negative feedback, how many of them or how much of them was about your role as a wife of a pastor? I mean, considering that a lot of churches are very conservative when it comes to speaking out on political things.
Mm-mm. Mm, hindi ko ma-quantify kung gaano karami yung, like, I can't say if that's like a large part or is it only large in evangelical circles.
Okay.
Because me being a content creator, which means I am not only devoting my content to evangelical Christians, no? So it's like for everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I honestly think that the fuss that Christians make over like my content is such a small thing compared to like the whole of it, like the
Okay.
whole of like my audience. Like, okay, for example, Halloween.
Yes.
Such a big thing in the evangelical circles. At sinagagulo, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's already satanic and stuff, okay? Parang it's all maingay here. And then when you go to like the non-evangelical circles, huh? What's happening? Naka-costume lang sila.
Yeah,
Alam mo
yeah,
yun?
yeah, yeah.
Yung ganon. So,
Uh-uh.
so going back to that whole negative feedback during the elections, I don't even know how much of that is really me being a pastor's wife. But definitely, it was very noisy in the evangelical circles. So much so that I think a lot of them thought that we were taken out of church, like my husband's job, diba, was taken away from him because I spoke too much, which is not
Which is not true.
true.
Yeah.
It's just when I hear it from others, I was like, huh? Parang I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, how does that connect?
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I think that a lot of them also feel like a pastor's wife should always be nice and safe.
Mm.
I think it's really more that na parang, why can't you just be safe as a pastor? I think,
Yeah.
ganun para for a person who's not super involved with church and stuff, I think wala lang yung ginagawa ko.
Yes.
Parang normal person who has a stand in life. But for evangelical circles, I think they feel na you're being so unchristian and not honoring to God by being too outspoken and by not being safe.
Why do you think that is?
Because a lot of us feel like being a Christian equals being nice.
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
the root of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Filipino culture na parang mitigated speech, don't talk. Best to not talk, right? Especially when it comes to things na may authority, let the authorities talk,
Right.
diba?
They'll always whip out that verse from Romans and
Exactly,
and
diba?
call it a day.
I think naman that's as us as Christians, we know that how these verses have been weaponized over time, and a lot of us feel like we're doing something wrong just because that verse was misused towards us.
I wanted to get your thoughts on something
Sure ka ba?
because
Hindi, joke.
yes.
Sure ba kayo?
I wanted to get your thoughts on something because it's super interesting for me that for the upcoming elections, almost 100 celebrities and influencers filed their certificates of
Nahuli
candidacy.
ako!
Hindi ka
Hindi ka
nagkano?
nagawa! Sayang naman. This is my chance na. To change the Philippines and make bigger money. Joke. Okay.
Make bigger money is insane. But I just wanted to ask, like, what were your thoughts on this? Like, why? I actually don't even have like a concrete question for that. It's just a very strange phenomenon for me.
Matagal naman na kasi nangyayari. I mean, I'm 43 years old. I started in the industry when I was only 13 years old. I've seen it happen over and over. It's been the culture that if you get some sort of popularity, it's easier for you to win when it comes to like positions in the government, diba? Some of them for very good reasons. So, hindi ko rin naman masabi na lahat mali. Kasi what if na-realize mo lang habang nandun ka na this is the calling of your life pala. May mga ganun naman. Meron din akong mga nakikilala na even if they have all the connections to make it happen, would refuse. Like Kuya Kim.
Yes.
Kuya Kim has been, parang I think everyone has been wanting him to like run for something. And he kept telling me, even back then, na ayoko kasi mas malaki yung influence ko as me, as Kuya Kim. I said that's so true.
Yeah.
You don't need a position, an official position in the government to make changes naman talaga.
Right.
So, I don't know how to feel also kasi I think it's like weed and wheat na you don't really know who is true and who is false, and that's not for me to say. I think that is more a problem of the Filipino people who are the voters na make your research, investigate, really know if these celebrities are only using it for their own gain or do they really want to help us. I think the burden naman talaga always is on the voter. I don't really know what to feel. I just pray that they would use it wisely, like that platform, if they are given that platform. Pero at the same time, very realistic din kasi ako na alam ko naman kasing may magmi-misuse pa rin.
Yeah, but it's very nice that you gave that juxtaposition, right? Na parang, okay, it's possible that there are people who have backgrounds of being a celebrity or an influencer that do want to help or may have the qualifications to help. It's just that maybe a lot of us are a little bit more skeptical because of what happened.
And also kasi look at naman the kind of faces that we have out there. Na mga former celebrities, now politicians, and you listen to them and you're like, okay, how do I believe that this is possible? So I guess, I mean, for those who are running, if you want to change the face of that in our country, then do it, di
Yeah.
ba? Make, parang show me a celebrity who has become like, whatever, mayor,
Yeah.
congressman, what have you, no? Change the image na, parang, show me that we can, you can.
Mm.
Then I'll run.
Ikaw na
I'll
sunod.
run in races. Sinasabi,
Tama.
not for government.
It's interesting what you said about Kuya Kim, because I think Vic Soto said a very similar thing. People were asking why he's not running, and
Yeah.
he's like, I could do more things outside. Um, what other ways can people with influence help in, the country, help the country that doesn't involve politics?
Just by being a good citizen, honestly, it doesn't even have to be a celebrity, but lagi kong sinasabi, ito sa huling eleksyon, sino ba ang nag-determine
Mm-hmm.
ng mga mananalo? Yung influencers ba? Hindi rin naman, di ba? Taong bayan pa rin.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the day, when we all come together for the betterment of our nation, it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But for as long as we keep thinking of other things
Yeah.
and we keep, getting swayed by other things also, mahirap mangyari yun.
Yeah.
So, nasa taong bayan pa rin talaga. Hindi lang naman influencers. Pero, yes, all of us. I mean, influencers, normal people. I'm a very strong advocate also of like, you can always change your world. Di ba lagi nilang sinasabi na parang, change the world, change the world. The world is too big for you to change, honestly. For one person, ha? Parang, really? Rica? Will change the world? As in, like, hanggang Antarctica, change ko? Ganon? Hindi eh. Hindi realistic. But I have a world in front of me.
Right.
What is that world? Diba? Where are you connected? Where are you plugged in? What is your community? Who is your family? This is your world.
Yeah.
And in that small space that you have, however you see it, big or small, no? You make your own changes in that space. And it will radiate naman outwards.
Right.
It's a bit idealistic to think about, but give me another option. Is there another option? Wala, di ba? I mean, am I just gonna be pessimistic and say nothing's gonna happen? At least do good na lang. And trust that as we get better at this, like all of us together, no, in our own different spaces, doing the best that we can, it will have an effect on our nation.
I found that during the last couple of elections, influencers got a lot of flack for not talking about, if they were silent, right? And I just wanted to ask your thoughts, because you obviously are part of the side that did.
Yes.
But how do you think influencers, especially those with, a large audience, how do they responsibly engage in political discourse?
I'm very, very conflicted about that because not everyone can speak. Alam mo yun, parang, huwag ka na magsalita. May
Yeah.
mga gano'n na parang, okay na. Huwag mo na dagdagan yung sinasabi mo. But, so, and sometimes kasi, these big figures also have naman no time to really get into discussions like that and really study what they want to happen for the elections, di ba?
Yeah.
So, di ko rin masabing dapat lahat nagsasalita. Siguro, mas naging concern ko lang before was not the ones who didn't speak, but more like yung mga who were speaking for false things.
Okay.
Baka yun pa yung mas concern ko na parang, do you know the responsibility that comes with like vouching for something that is not true? Because that's not speaking is just, not speaking. But to speak for something that is totally not true is a different story.
Right.
So, mas yun yung concern ko lang na yung siguro isip. And honestly, we would, when I was much younger, we would get invited by, and I didn't know this back then, no? I was part of the problem as a young, professional entertainer. We would get invited to barrios to sing for a certain candidate, which I would never hear ever before that time that I would get on stage and say the name of the candidate and say, vote for him. Okay. But of course I would do it because I was young. I didn't know. I didn't understand. I thought it was like, oh, this is just a part of the job because you would get paid lots of money. A lot of us artists really would thrive during election time kasi yan na yung kinukuha ka. Babayaran ka ng pera just so you would say the name of the candidate on stage, right? So I was part of the problem.
Yeah.
I was very young. I didn't know what I was doing. And I think that's really the more worrisome thing na you're speaking for something that you don't really know about or you actually know to be false but you would still do it anyway just so you would get the money. Mas yun yung nahihirapan akong tanggapin.
Right. So, in your perspective, even if you have a large following, you're not necessarily obliged to.
Oh yeah. No. I don't think so. I think that a person must just, must speak only if they really have something to talk about. Why would you speak if you don't
Right.
have anything to talk? I mean, kaya naaawa rin ako sa iba na parang they would feel like people are asking them so much for like a stand on things and stuff. And sila naman napapressure na parang, wait a minute, parang I didn't plan on doing that. I think we must respect that also.
Okay, that's good. Kasi I think I got into this during that time also. It's very, very hectic time on social media.
Lahat, di ba? Lahat nakipag-away.
Yeah,
Oh.
so parang I remember having to defend in some way influencers because I felt like it was very unfair for them to be judged for not speaking up, especially on things that they don't really know anything about.
Yes.
And I don't have a lot of following, but even some of my friends were like, "How come you're not speaking up?" And then I just said, "Na parang, I could, but there are people who have spoken up already
Yes.
that have said it better than I would have, and they have a better platform, a bigger platform. I'm just gonna echo them, and I don't have to be part of the noise anymore, diba? Parang unless talaga I have something to say." So it's nice to hear you say that because I feel like that's what a lot of people have been missing.
Yeah.
There's this false like pressure on people with a lot of following to be like, hey, you gotta be perfect in you gotta have to talk
I
about
guess
this.
for me, not speaking up is okay. But it was more like, iniisip ko, if you are not in any way moved by these elections, no? Lalo yung recent natin. Parang you're missing out as a Filipino. Na you're not even moved.
Yeah.
Diba? Na so many things are happening.
Yeah.
And this could very well be like something that we would point back to when the time comes.
Right.
Diba? In history na that was the defining moment for our nation to be this and that.
Yeah.
And yun lang naman din yung sa akin. That's why I would be there in the rallies. Kasi parang sa akin, one day this is gonna be history.
Right.
And I want to tell my grandchildren, hey, grandma, I was there.
Yeah.
I was in Iloilo, I was ganyan, I was ganito. Because I guess that's really innate in me. I just have to move when I'm being moved by God to do something.
Right. Yeah. I want to take a step back and talk more about like your perception in the social media space. Because you have certain roles, right? Being a pastor's wife, being an influencer, being a mother. Do you feel extra pressure when talking about sensitive topics like politics or social issues because of those roles?
I used to be more pressured.
Okay.
Now I am no longer pressured. It took a while because we were also, we all know how much the space, I mean the digital space has changed also, diba, over the years.
Yeah.
From the time of like live journal to today where
Yeah.
we have like Discord.
Yeah.
Things I don't know anymore about, diba? Dami nang nagbago. And so that means also the reaction of the audience has changed over time.
Right.
So there are some things that they got more lenient about. They're more accepting. That wasn't the case before.
Mm-mm.
So before I would worry more because people were not only kasi the people online, it's like the people around you didn't understand so much what this space was all about.
Mm-mm.
We were all coming from, especially I would have to say, no, the older generations.
Mm-mm.
Kasi sila yung sanay sa TV.
Mm-mm.
Sila yung sanay sa traditional media.
Mm-mm.
Kaya yung mga newer media, hindi nila maintindihan. Lagi silang natatakot.
Mm-mm.
And so, being in the middle, I think that has a lot to do also of my positioning with my positioning na I'm in the middle.
Mm-mm.
Like, I know the young and I know the old. And so, parang I'm caught in between
Yeah.
because the old's like, don't do this. And the young's like, we don't care about what you do. Ganon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of like a transition for us. Kaming dalawang mag-asawa, actually.
Mm-mm.
It's not just me, but pretty much the Philippines is not as liberal as the United States, diba?
Yes.
Ngayon pa lang nagiging ganun.
Mm-mm.
And so, conservative na nga yung mga Filipinos. Conservative pa yung background ng evangelical Christianity.
Yeah.
So, when you put that together, have you guys seen Nobody Wants This? Tama ba? Welcome to your shiksa. I'm that. I grew up in the industry, entertainment industry. I've seen everything.
Mm-mm.
Like, I've seen hell. So, me coming from that background,
Yeah.
can you just imagine like meeting a very conservative culture and me being this way? Na I'm really more outspoken, I'm really more open, I'm more liberal in some senses. So it was so hard for me to like find the proper positioning of like, when do you say this or do you not say this at all? How about this? How about that? So medyo mahirap din yun para sa
Yeah.
akin.
You mentioned that tension with the church, right? And it seems like you've received some backlash from your church community regarding that. How did you navigate away from those expectations from your church community? While staying true to your beliefs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it takes a whole lot of knowing what is true and what isn't, what is
Okay.
biblical, what is truly biblical, and what is man-made. And what I've realized so far, like siguro mga ilang taon ko na to ginagawa, it all started kasi with parenting eh. Parenting Philip, our firstborn, maybe when he was around 2, I really did it all the Christian way, like how
How you were taught?
I was taught by Christian mentors.
Mm-mm.
And me realizing along the way that some of these things were really just man-made than they are biblical. And so it really started with that. Na I realized that not everything we were told were actually biblical and true
Mm-mm.
or is a mandate by God.
Mm-mm.
Some of these things are just highly recommended by them,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really something that God would get mad at me for if I didn't do them.
Right.
So by me finding out which is true and which isn't, parang that bought me my confidence to actually do what I think is right and what I feel like God is telling me to do. So this is why I'm very big on like your own research,
Right.
because I did that.
Mm-mm.
Everything that I was questioning, parang everything that they taught me, and I felt like, wait a minute, is this real or not? I would research on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And as I researched, I would get my answers, and thereby I would also get my confidence to be who I needed to be.
How do you think that the church can better support those who want to speak those truths, that how their beliefs, their like biblically correct beliefs
Yes, yes, yes.
on social or political matters while staying true to their faith?
I think it's really important for you to know what God is really saying kasi. That's the starting point.
Yeah.
Because so many people will say, and this is why I think that this is a command, that we shall not use God's name in vain. Because every time we say that God said this, lakas eh. Diba? I mean, I say that or a mentor says that, I would automatically think, oh, hindi, mali ako. Kasi God said that. Without me even cross-checking, did God really say that? Or did you say that? And you think that's what God said. Because sometimes they really think that's what God said. And hindi naman sila mali in saying that God said this kasi yun yung akala nila di ba? But it's your job to cross-check and see for yourself, is this real or not real? Doon mo lang makukuha kasi yung confidence mo to speak your truth. And God speaks different things kasi to different people. Sometimes He tells somebody to act and the other one to just shut up. Diba?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, that's why I don't even find anything wrong with those people who don't want to speak. Because what if that's really what God wanted them to do or not do as of the moment, diba?
Yeah.
I can't question that. But the starting point always is to know what God is really saying. That is the only way you will find your confidence to go against something that is very powerful in your life. Kasi I think that this cannot be discussed without me saying that to have mentors, to have people who are supposedly more mature than you is a very powerful thing over us.
Yeah.
We have the tendency to think that we know less and they know more. And to a certain degree, totoo naman yun. They have wisdom that we don't have. And we just need to know that they could be wise about a lot of things, but it doesn't make them right about everything.
You and Joe planted a church, a smaller community church, right? And I think I want to know your perspective with regards to, because you are now in that role somewhat. You are the mentor, the older, quote unquote, more mature one, right?
Sure ba? Yun na pala yung tagline ko, sure ba kayo?
But like to people might perceive you that way.
Oh yeah,
right?
definitely. Totally aware of that.
And the thing is, how would you have wanted to be supported when you were out there like, hey, this is things that I really believe in and I feel like God is telling me to speak out about this. How come you're not supporting me? How would you have wanted
That
to be
support?
supported? Yeah.
I don't need to be supported in the sense na you need to agree with me. Maybe the support is like just respect of like we all don't have the same beliefs about certain things, right? We all believe in God. We love Him, we love Jesus and all, we praise Him. But there are many other parts of life wherein everyone cannot just have one thought about it.
Yeah.
Diba? I mean, like, just in our household, we're just 4 people, 5. Hindi kami nag-agree ng ulam. Diba? Parang it's impossible to agree on everything. So I guess the support would have been, the best support that would have been given siguro sana back then was the respect for differences. Na we're not really gonna be the same in everything.
Yeah.
And even the stereotyping of like say, pastor's wife, leader, discipler, ganyan. Very harmful kasi siya. Na parang if you have a label and you box the way that this label should look like, then what happens to the rest who don't look that way? So like a pastor's wife, di ba? I wouldn't fit in the stereotypical pastor's wife. And I guess a better support would have been, she's like that, and she's no less a pastor's wife for being that way. And I don't need you to agree. I just need you to respect that I'm different from you. And different doesn't always necessarily mean wrong.
Right.
I think that's that's a trap for all of us. Na when somebody doesn't look like us, parang may mali dito. Parang, hindi. Magkaiba lang tayo. Di ba? Parang, hindi ako mali, hindi ka rin mali. It's just that we're different.
Right.
So if only Christians can be that way, it would be a more peaceful community, I think. Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned that you were a lit major, right? How has your background influenced the way you communicate your beliefs and values through your public platforms?
Well, a whole lot of being a lit major, and the whole course is like words, words, words. So maybe that's why I'm a mouthpiece. I love words. I even in expressing myself, I've always expressed myself better through writing, through words than it was a bit of an adjustment for me to actually vlog eh. 'Di ba? Parang from blog naging vlog.
Right.
Hirap na hirap talaga ako mag-vlog kasi I was like, what do you say to a camera? Versus just writing your thoughts down onto like a paper or type it in the computer. I think that's not only me being a lit major, but really the gift of God for me. I love words, and He gives me words for things that I want to express.
And how has that, like, I guess, how has that manifested in how you talk about, well, I guess obviously because it's words, but like how you talk about it in the public space?
Oh my gosh, I think what people underestimate talaga is the power of uh, not only words, but of the way that you put them together.
Okay.
We all have words. But if there's no art to the way that you put them together, it doesn't make an impact. And I think that's basically what I do. Like, I can sell to you anything just by using my words. Ganon. I'm very aware of the power of like putting it in such an artful way
Yeah.
that will make it stick and will convince you to do something.
You shared through your blog posts and your social media that you've had moments of doubt in your faith.
Yeah.
How has your writing helped you process these doubts, and what was the outcome?
Oh, you know what? I don't know if I can say it verbatim, but something like C.S. Lewis said, we don't write because we know, we write in order to know. Meaning, like, I don't know if it's verbatim, you can just check it, but it's something like when I write, I discover things that I did not know were in my heart. And I write, or when I speak, when I articulate, some things come out and I'm like, whoo, that was inside of me. Ganyan. Na parang, I was thinking of that pala, and that's how I was feeling. So I think that's really the help of writing to me, and I think also why journaling is such an effective therapy for people who are not really doing well with their mental health, and even with God. I think that well, first of all, He is the Word. I think there's so much poesy to that. Now, why would God choose the form of the Word to be to us, and today to be Emmanuel in the form
Yeah.
of the Word,
Yeah.
the Word that is made flesh? And I think that is how it has helped me in my faith. That the more I get to speak to Him, and I let Him speak to me through writing, the more things come alive into my life. Word made flesh talaga siya. Na, sige, as I read your word, some things that were dead in me come back to life.
Wow.
And I feel like that's what I get from Him. And the many times that I have doubted Him, yun nga yung sinasabi ko eh, okay lang talagang mag-doubt kay God. Basta sabihin mo kay God. Kasi ganun ako. Like,
Yeah.
nagda-doubt talaga ako. Parang sabi ko, Lord, ayoko na talaga maniwala sa'yo. Kasi parang nasan ka ba at this point? Diba? Parang, why are you not getting me out of this misery? Then I would, before I would sleep, I would always say, basta bahala ka na, save mo na lang to. And then I would go to sleep. And honestly, it would get resolved. It's
Yeah.
like a relationship with someone na parang siya yung nagdadala ng lahat. Which, is impossible on this earth. Like, even with my husband, I've had, almost 14 years with him. It's really not possible for, like, one person to just be, like, totally dependent on the other, di ba? Both of you have to work.
Right.
Work your ends. But it is only with God that I experience that. Na He holds everything together talaga for
Right.
me.
Yeah, it seems like writing has been such a huge blessing
Oh yeah.
in your life, right? Do you have any tips on like, I guess, how to write or how to start a journal? Maybe there are people listening who might want to know your insights on writing and have their words become flesh, so to speak, diba?
Not just journal. There are practices that I've learned because I started out as creative writing major
Okay.
in Ateneo
Yeah.
before I shifted to lit. The only reason why I shifted to lit was because creative writing was too output driven.
Okay.
And I was a working student at that time. So hindi ko kaya yung load na may output ako palagi versus me just reading. So anyway, there were some exercises there like if you when you wake up in the morning, get like a one whole sheet of paper. So back then ano pa siya, intermediate. Ewan ko ginagamit pa ba yun ngayon. Di ko na alam kung ginagamit pa ba yan
iPad
ngayon.
na ata ngayon.
I know. Basta parang one blank sheet and just auto write.
Hmm.
Like write whatever. Don't even think of what to write. Just start writing. And then the goal is to like fill that entire page up with
Anything,
whatever
yeah.
comes to your mind. So journaling is very helpful. The way I journal nowadays is very different. Also, it's digital now, but I still write on my iPad. So what I do is like I mix it with pictures, so pictures and words. And then I also make like certain categories. Actually, I wanna teach it na nga to people parang how I journal because I really make it into an organized system. Like every month, I have series that I watched, books that I read, travels that
Wow.
I was able to do for the month, ganyan, or adventures. And then I also have like one page of like prayers. So by the end of the year, when I go back, I can see ano ba yung mga nangyari sa akin, ganyan. So a way to keep your days. Yeah, but I mean like writing is such a fun thing, whether you do it professionally or just for yourself, diba? It's such a therapeutic thing to take on. And I think everyone will be healthier if they knew how to write.
With your life constantly in the public eye, how do you manage the tension between living authentically and the expectations that others may have of you?
Hmm. You just have to accept the tension. I think the problem before was that I wanted to solve the tension, to make the tension go away. But what Joseph and I realized is that we are people we're just designed to be in the tension. I think it's really our role so far in our communities because we're very black or white eh. Di ba ganun naman kadalasan na parang binary thinking. But what we don't understand is that there's more than two choices, more often than not. We just think that there's just black or white, but there's also gold, there's also gray, there's also white, other colors in the spectrum. Yeah, so I think people are always stuck with binary thinking na has to be black or white. But in the spectrum, there are many other colors. And I think that's what Joe and I are designed to do, to show the people that the spectrum is filled with many colors. That is not just black or white. And we have already accepted the fact that this is not an easy thing to tell people who have lived all their lives thinking that there's only black or white.
Right.
But in our hearts, at least, no, we know that we are doing what we are supposed to do when we give people more choices than just black or white. We feel like it's a good thing if they knew more than what they actually just know now.
What advice would you give other public influencers who want to stay true to their beliefs and maintain authenticity while also not alienating their audience?
There's wisdom naman din talaga to that. I think that that is something that I had to learn for myself to not completely turn off my audience.
Okay.
Kasi masyado naman din ako minsan ganon. Yung parang, I don't care about all of you. And it's like, that's not the right way
Yeah.
to, I think that's snobbish. That's very ivory tower-ish, di ba? Parang, huwag mo gawin yon. Kasi parang, what is the purpose of your knowledge if not to like win the people that you're supposed to win? So, you lose at the end of the day if your point is just to be right.
Okay.
So, I think there's really wisdom to like knowing also when to say things. And that's something that I eventually learned na lang along the way. In the beginning, I was like more harsh and like not unfeeling. And, you know, I would just blurt out things without any wisdom. Sometimes I still do that. But I've also forgiven na rin myself
Yeah.
na, but you're human, di ba? You don't know everything and sometimes you will say it not the best way
Right.
possible. So I've been very easy on myself na rin. But yeah, I think that mindfulness of your own truth, your authenticity, your everything about you, but also the people that you want to communicate with, if you are also mindful of them, I think it'll work well naman. Na you'll know, God will give you the wisdom on how to say things without really being completely all out offensive, di ba? You will have a gift of being able to say it the best possible way to the people that you're really supposed to talk to. I think that's also another thing.
Yeah.
You need to know who you're talking to.
Okay.
You're not talking to everyone. What do I mean by that? Online kasi halo-halo.
Yeah.
Nandiyan ang tita mo. Nandiyan yung pamangkin mo.
Yeah.
Di ba? So parang, who are you talking to? And so when I know that the people who are getting, when I know that the people who are getting mad at me are people that I'm really not trying to reach anyway, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Kasi I'm not trying to reach you. So like, no offense naman to the mga titas and all. Parang, I'm really trying to talk to people my age and younger. The titas and all, I don't try to talk to them na kasi parang I don't feel like I have any power anyway in like telling them what I know about. So unless they ask it from me, that's the only time I give. But if like titas and titos get mad at me for my positions, hindi ako na-offend.
Yeah.
Kasi okay lang, hindi ko naman talaga kayo kinakausap. I'm really talking more to the younger people.
Right. You mentioned your audience, right? And a lot of people who follow you are young moms, working moms, and Christians, right? What advice would you tell those who feel pressure to conform to societal norms while staying true to their beliefs?
That has always been the problem naman. Parang the world and my Christianity, my spiritual stance in a lot of things. Again, it just all goes back to like, what is God telling you? What do you know to be, what is God really saying about these things? Kasi again, I feel like marami tayong cultural baggage na akala natin mali, pero hindi naman talaga mali.
Right.
That's what I'm discovering right now. And that's also the gift of deconstruction for me. Na when you come from a certain culture na medyo conservative, and when I talk about deconstruction, it's not only sa faith or yung religious matters, but even like, say, Filipino culture. Diba? Parang, like, the whole, pag hindi ka nag-agree sa mas nakakatanda sa'yo, that's already disrespect.
Right, yeah.
Diba? Those little things na I would consider to fall under, this is what society expects of you. But this is what is true and authentic for me, right? So how do you put those two together? I think that at some point in your life, if you really are going to break down some things that are not true anymore from the past, from traditions, I think just be ready na lang.
Yeah.
Na not everyone will like what you're going to say. If you really want to stand up for your truth, I think that's one thing that you need to accept for yourself na may costs talaga siya. Are you ready for that cost? And, you know, I will not judge you if the cost kasi is like, let's say, you lose a living out of it, diba? And you're not quite ready and prepared to do that, I will respect that because you need to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I don't want you to starve
Yeah.
just because kailangan mo maging true and
Yeah.
honest about everything. I mean, there is a place for everything, a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
I think when I was much younger, I couldn't do this because it was like all work, work, work.
Right.
But now that I'm older, feeling ko, kaya ko na. Kumbaga, parang I earned my way towards it and I can now use my voice this way without being afraid.
For those who are looking to use their platform to positively impact, what steps can they take to ensure that their voices contribute meaningfully to society and the conversations that people might have?
Get yourself informed if you want to be responsible. I think all of us are babad naman sa mga TikTok, Instagram. But I pray that we're not only watching entertaining things, viral things that go around so we could make content. But if we really want to be responsible, go and dig deeper about like the issues of the nation. Go and watch documentaries that are being made by Ato Maralio, Cara David. Get the heart of your nation. Don't just, be in your bubble. I think that's it eh. Parang all of us have bubbles. That's one major thing that I realized na kahit ang isang taong aware ay may bubble. Di
True.
ba?
Yeah.
May kailangan aware ka ano ba yung bubble ko at kailangan kong lumabas dun. Hindi ako pwedeng laging nasa comfort zone ko lang. Kasi then that will make me not aware about a lot of things that are like happening around me. That is if gusto mong maging responsible. Kung di mo naman gusto, di mag-TikTok ka na lang. Okay. Huwag mo nang isipin yung mga sinabi ko. But yeah, I mean, if you really wanna be a more responsible voice, you don't just wanna, because I do believe that some just wanna do it out of like their need for money. Some just wanna do it for fame, di ba? But if you're like one of those people who want to make use of your platform in like for better things, diba? To influence people for the better, then good for you. That's already a great starting point that you actually want to be responsible. Because if not, parang added trash ka lang naman sa space, diba? Parang you're just gonna be one of the million voices that are already talking sabay-sabay. So you might as well make it count by staying in that space, owning your space, and like what I said earlier, what is the world before you? Try to change that.
I learned a lot from this conversation, Carla. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Maggie.
Where can people find you?
Just find me on Rica Peralejo. I think that's about it for like TikTok, Instagram, and
YouTube as well,
YouTube.
yeah.
Rica Peralejo Bonifacio. So yeah, just follow me there, and you will be updated about whatever is I'm passionate about for the moment.